What is a three-parent baby? I know that sounds a bit like a plot from a horrible science fiction movie, but believe me when I say, it's a real thing. Yeah, stick around. We'll talk about it. What's up? I'm Corlandos Scott, a third-party reproduction attorney in Los Angeles, and that simply means that my practice revolves around helping people grow their families through assisted reproductive technologies. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the concept behind the idea of a three-parent baby and discuss whether a child can literally have DNA from three parents. We'll talk about whether the third parent is actually a parent, and we'll discuss some legal and ethical implications of all of this. Let's dive in. Now, I've finally come to terms with the fact that long gone are the days when the Leave It to Beaver simple rendition of the birds and the bees would be enough to explain where babies come from. And I'm not saying that this is a bad thing. I'm only recognizing that science and medicine are moving at blinding speeds, and we're able to do things in fertility utilizing technology that would have seriously only existed in science fiction only a few years ago. So what is a three-parent baby? There's actually more than one answer. As I discussed in my episode, Can Two Men Have a Baby?, there's a rare phenomenon that exists called heteropaternal superfecundation, where one egg is fertilized during a woman's cycle, but also a second egg from the same menstrual cycle is additionally fertilized by the sperm of a different man. Now, this results in a woman being pregnant by two separate men at the same time. So simply put, this phenomenon means that two different men are participating as genetic fathers in the same pregnancy. Essentially, it's twins with two different fathers. So when you look at the sum of that pregnancy, there are a number of legal questions, but one of the main ones is whether each father is the legal parent of both children, or whether each can only parent the one twin with which he shares a genetic connection. Well, what about if the pregnant woman is married? Check this out. In many states, there's a rule called the Marital Presumption of Paternity. And that basically says that if a married man's wife has a baby, then he is presumed automatically to be that baby's daddy. And California states it like this: the child of a wife cohabiting with her husband who is not impotent or sterile is conclusively presumed to be a child of the marriage. So what happens if one of the fathers in a heteropaternal superfecundation scenario is married to the mother? Does his marital presumption of paternity usurp the other actual biological father's genetic connection to his twin? Well, in the not so distant past, 2019 to be exact, in China, a woman gave birth to fraternal twins from two different fathers. A classic case of the old heteropaternal superfecundation. One of the fathers was her husband, and the other was a man having a secret affair with her during the same time, obviously. Well, in that case, the husband of the woman told the media that he certainly wants his own child, but he said, "I'm not willing to raise someone else's child." So the question is, could he have taken that same position if he were a U.S. citizen living in a state that has a marital presumption of paternity? Well, let me tell you, I don't know the answer to that, but that would certainly make for an interesting case, to become an unintentional father. But let's look at another medical scientific phenomenon that creates a three-parent baby. It's a technique that consists of combining the DNA of not just two individuals, but three individuals. And the technical name for the process is called mitochondrial manipulation or mitochondrial replacement in a three-person IVF procedure. The introduction of the technique was met with extreme controversy because of the fact that the doctor was manipulating genes. However, the actual focus of the technique, I think, was pretty noble. Now, the goal of the technique is to reduce the effects of mutations that occur in DNA cells known as mitochondria. So ultimately, it allows parents with rare genetic mutations to have healthy babies. So here's the story of the first baby born in this manner. The baby's mother was a carrier of genes for Lee syndrome. It's a fatal disorder that affects the developing nervous system. So genes for the disease reside in the DNA in the mitochondria. So this is what the doctor did. Stick with me. He took the mother's egg with the disease gene and a healthy donor egg. Then he removed the nucleus from the mother's egg and he removed the nucleus from the donor's egg. He then inserted the nucleus of the mother's egg into the nucleus, where the nucleus had been removed rather, in the donor egg, and thus created a whole egg with the nucleus of the mother's egg and everything but the nucleus of the donor's egg. Once that was complete, the egg was then fertilized with the father's sperm, thus creating an embryo that was the genetic result of 3 humans. This really is mind-blowing. This approach is poised to help women overcome infertility and at the same time help prevent the transmission of potentially dangerous or debilitating diseases related to mitochondria. Now, even though the success of this technique was seen as miraculous, as I mentioned, using it has remained controversial. The controversies are linked to unknown risks about the technique's safety. It prompted regulatory agencies to restrict the use of 3-parent IVF. And some experts felt that mixing of the cytoplasm from the mother and the donor's eggs and the resulting embryo was then exposed to more health and hereditary risks. And they said, well, those risks really negate the initial interest in the technique's potential for, overcoming those mitochondrial diseases. So I guess they said the risks outweighed the benefits. In essence, the other doctors said that it was like jumping out of the frying pan and into the fire. Well, nonetheless, heteropaternal superfecundation and mitochondrial manipulation are the 2 medical phenomena that create 3-parent children. However, there's also a legal nuance that creates 3-parent children, but it doesn't recognize 3-parent children. That nuance is the gamete donation process. And I'm talking about when an egg donor or sperm donor helps a couple become parents. Now, in arrangements like that, the legal intention of the parties is that the donor has no rights, no responsibility with regard to the resulting children. And likewise, the donor has no parental status. But on the other hand, the couple who commissioned or is working with the donor is intended to be and declared the legal parents of the child born via the donation. So we have 2 individuals who are the legal parents of the child, but that doesn't negate the fact that genetically the child has a paternal or maternal genetic connection to the sperm or egg donor, right? So although that connection carries no legal rights or responsibilities, the connection's there nonetheless. So although this one is more of an academic exercise, more so than an actual 3-parent child, whenever a donor donates to a set of parents, the resulting child is technically, when you consider legal and genetic ties, it's a 3-parent child. Now, before we discuss whether a 3rd parent is really a parent, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for watching this video. To be honest, you are the reason I take time to do this. And if you're enjoying the video, just tell YouTube just by clicking the little like button. And also, go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of the new videos I put out. But thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so is a 3rd parent actually a parent? Well, possibly so, and possibly no. Well, as we discussed in the case of heteropaternal superfecundation mixed with the marital presumption, there's an argument that if a married man can rebut or overcome the presumption that he is the father of any baby his wife gives birth to, then the other man can become the father of his genetic baby and then be given legal parental rights. So that could be a sort of 3rd parentage right? Although it's not a true one because the outside father would not likely have rights over the genetic child of the husband. So probably doesn't work that well, but hey, it's an exercise to think about it. In the case of a donor arrangement where we said that technically a donor is the 3rd parent of the child, it is a big fat no. The donor is not going to be an actual parent of the child in any legal capacity. The very purpose of a donor arrangement is to have the donor help someone else become the parent. So it stands to reason that she is not going to be given the right of a parent. Now, there is another possibility for 3-parent children. And actually, this possibility extends beyond 3 And technically, there's no limit to the number of parents under this possibility. I'm referring to California Senate Bill number 274. This bill was meant to address situations where the child has more than 3 caretakers who consider themselves parents. For example, a lesbian couple could have a child with a sperm donation from a close friend. The 3 adults may decide they'd all like to be involved in raising the child. So this bill anticipates how can the law protect this type of family structure. Now, it's often referred to as the third parent law, but California Senate Bill number 274 provides protection for children and families by recognizing legal rights and responsibilities of 2 or more adults in a child's life. The law is actually even more expansive, like I said, than just a third parent law, because it places no limits on the number of parents a child can have. Here's California's legislature's view behind drafting the law. They said, most children have 2 parents, but in rare cases, children have more than 2 people who are that child's parent in every way. So separating a child from a parent has a devastating psychological and emotional impact on the child, and courts must have the power to protect children from this harm. Wow. Now, this additional recognition provides the child with more love and support, both emotionally and financially, and it provides that all of the adults involved in raising the child have legal protection for their parent-child bond. So, for families who have or want more than 2 legal parents, this law would be a great thing. It provides, legal recognition for adults who are acting as parents in every other way, and it helps protect non-traditional family structures. In addition to the legal recognition of the adults involved, the third parent law does protect the children involved in a way also, because it ensures that their relationship with their parents is seen as valid, important, and worth protecting. However, and this is my big however, as Uncle Ben told Peter Parker, with great power comes great responsibility. And with the advances in technology and science, we're seeing more ethical and legal challenges arise and a longer list of questions than we have answers. With the 3-parent baby arrangement via mitochondrial manipulation, we have a vehicle that allowed a hopeful mother to bypass a defect in her own genome, and that defect led her 2 previous children being born with Leigh syndrome, a highly damaging neurological disorder that usually results in death before a child reaches the age of 3, and she did lose 2 children to it. But it also at the same time creates another potential risk that up to this point is really unknown, and that's what the doctors who opposed it said. Now, the California Third Parent Bill, it provides legal status to adults who are acting in the capacity of parent, but it also leaves some questions unanswered. Does it allow a non-intended parent to seek legal recognition and assert legal parental rights? For example, if a couple uses a sperm donor but intends to only have 2 parents, does this law permit the sperm donor to come back in the future and seek parental rights even over the objection of the couple who was the intended parent? Well, as you can imagine, this scenario would be a nightmare for many families. You don't need or want additional adults interfering in your child's life or making decisions about their education, their health care, their future. But under the specific phrasing of the third parent law, an unintended parent could claim parental rights even if a child has 2 committed parents already. So many medical advances and so many questions yet to be answered. Now, if you're looking to grow your family through assisted reproduction and you need help sorting through it, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I would love to chat with you. All you got to do is click the link below in the description and you'll be taken to chatwithcorlandos.com. And from there, you can start a chat with me. I look forward to chatting with you. Hit me up.